Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Truth Podcasts, where your soul is always invited back home. Today's truth: your inner child isn't gone. She's still running your life until you learn to hold her. Let that sit for a second. This episode is about childhood trauma and how it doesn't just disappear with age. It grows with you, it hides in your relationships, it whispers in your silence, it sits in your body, waiting to be seen, heard, and healed. You see, not all trauma is loud. Some of us weren't physically harmed, but we were emotionally starved. We were dismissed, unheard, conditionally loved, or made to believe that being too much was dangerous. And so we became what was safe. We became what wouldn't rock the boat, so to say. We became, whatever made us feel wanted, even if it meant abandoning our truth, abandoning who we were, abandoning the things that made us happy. Now let's fast forward. You're 30, 40, or even 50, and still you flinch when someone raises their voice. You chase people who remind you of your own emotionally unavailable parents. You sabotage success because your nervous system becomes one that believes chaos is normal. You can't rest. You can't receive. You can't be still. And you ask yourself why. It's because the child in you never got to feel safe. An adult you is still trying to protect her using the same strategy as when you were 6 years old. Let me make this real for you. Childhood trauma doesn't always scream. Sometimes it looks like over-explaining your boundaries, apologizing for simply existing, people pleasing to avoid conflict, staying busy because silence feels unsafe, never celebrating your wins because love was always earned, not given. And the scariest part, most adults don't even know this is trauma. They think they are too sensitive, too needy, or not good enough. You are not. You had just never thought what healthy love felt like. Let me be real with you a little bit. There was a time I didn't understand why I couldn't trust love, why I pushed people away when they got too close. In fact, recently I had to reach out to a couple of my close friends who had always been in my corner. But you see, I just was never able to give myself 100% to them. When it felt like they were getting too close, I would shrink, so to say. I would, pull back. I just couldn't be friends with them the way that they were friends with me. And I realized, in my healing process that it was because I just always feared that when they got too close, maybe they would see my imperfection that, my childhood growing up had told me that was a problem. And if they saw that imperfection, they would cut me off, or they would criticize me, or they would say I was too much of something, So I was so scared that if they saw that about me, the same way that my own people, growing up had given me some sort of tag or label, that if they saw those things about me, I would become person non grata around them. And I couldn't afford that. But the truth is, my friends didn't really care. They love me. They love my crazy ass. They love my crazy ass as I am. But I just couldn't understand that people could love people. Because I came from a family where every little thing, they cut you off. This one will say, oh, you did this. Oh, you talk too much. They cut you off. They ostracize you. I come from that kind of household. I come from that kind of extended family. That's what we do. It's normal for us, So going outside and meeting people and experiencing a different kind of, relation is very strange to me. But I think that was the breaking point. That was what made me realize that something was wrong. Something was really wrong with us. We were very faulty. We didn't even realize we were faulty. That love was free. Love didn't need any condition to exist. Love didn't need you to do something to get something in return. Love didn't need you to not be yourself. No. And even if you did something nasty, people didn't need to, nobody was going to cut you off because of that. You know, I worked so hard, yet, I never felt enough, because I just felt I had to be pleasing some set of people who, honestly, for the life of me, I don't understand how. But hey, this is how childhood trauma works. You never know how dangerous this is to your life until you come out of it. The adult pain was my childhood story playing on repeat, so to say. And I stopped shaming her. I started sitting with her. I was shamed a lot for speaking up. I was shamed a lot for talking. And I used to feel that there was something wrong with my talking. I was shamed a lot for the way that I was, for the way that I am, rather. So instead of chastising that girl, I started sitting down with her and saying to her, look, okay, you could talk. You had a gift for talking. So what are you going to use this talking for? Why, who are there people like you? Are there people who talk like you? Are there people who were as orative as you? Are there people who could speak as eloquently as you? What did they use that gift for? Was it even a gift? I started digging very deeply. I started to mother myself. I became the mother that I never had to my own self. And I used to whisper back to that little girl and say, look, there's nothing wrong with you. The moment I started to know who I was, honestly, it was like I had won a war and nobody was going to tell me anything anymore. You could not come and shame me anymore. There is nothing wrong with me. You, on the other hand, have a big problem. So, you see, conditioning is a terrible thing. It can keep you in a bondage all your life if you don't know, to be honest. Healing from childhood trauma isn't about blaming your parents. Although I did blame mine, I still blame mine, and I'm still in the process of healing. So, of course, blaming them just helps me to bounce things off the surface. And adults need to be accountable for their actions, their consequences for people's actions. However, it's not, you don't dwell on it. You just apportion, you just tell them, what it is, and then you move on from that. That's the way that it works for me. I don't hold on to it. I just tell them what it is and I move on from there. It's really about reclaiming emotional responsibility. It's about giving yourself permission to feel what was once suppressed. It's about learning safety from within, rewriting the narrative from survival to self-trust. That journey of survival to self-trust is a really long one. So I would say that you should give yourself a lot of time to go through that. Acknowledge every step of the way. Celebrate yourself every step of the way. Every win is a win, no matter how small it is. And if nobody has told you this, let me be the first to tell you, you're allowed to outgrow the patterns that kept you safe as a child. It's okay. You're an adult now. You're allowed to outgrow those patterns. You're allowed to say that hurts me. And even if it wasn't intentional, you are allowed to heal without needing permission. So I'm going to ask you today, what parts of your adult self are still protecting a wounded child? What truth have you been too afraid to speak because speaking it once meant danger? Oh, that hit me, Are you ready not just to survive, but to finally feel safe inside your body, your truth and your worth? The journey would begin from here, and I'll walk with you every step of the way. If you have any difficulties on this journey, I'm happy to speak to you. You can reach out to me personally. I would share my journey with you. I would share my story with you, and we'll walk through it. You can reach out to me via email. My email is juarchibong@gmail.com. I'll spell that phonetically. That's Jumbo Umbrella Alpha Romeo Charlie Hotel India Bravo Oscar November Golf @gmail.com. That is one word. And then you can send me an email and I will respond to you as soon as possible. Thank you very much for staying tuned today. Speak soon.